So if you're an agent out there, new real estate agent, you're thinking of joining a team, we're gonna talk to you today about the actual things that really matter, what you should be looking for. How are you gonna help me get this transaction done when I don't know what I'm doing at all?
So first off, we're starting right away with leadership, which is what we do on our team. So it's pretty easy for us to talk about. But what I will say is I don't know what's going on with your brokerage that would make you want to leave. So that would be a good question. What is it that the leadership is not doing for you right now that you wish they were doing?
And what do you don't know? I mean, the way a traditional brokerage works is there's kind of somebody in the office and there's a little bit of training and they're supposed to kind of help you. You're trying to figure things out. But what happens when you get that actual client? And then now you're going to go show them houses and you need somebody who can go to right then and there, like at the drop of a hat, every minute of the day, like get your question answered. Not only that, but like, how do you prepare to go meet that person? Like, are you really ready for that? And what tools are you going to use?
Yeah, all the way from the top down. So for us, I know we left and went to real because we felt like it was really important to us and our culture that the top leadership is still in the business. They still understand what's going on in the streets all the time. So for us, we know what's going on because we also are still in the business. So that was important to us to see that all the way through, everybody is still selling real estate.
Yeah, if you need to just win a negotiation on a sale, like, is there somebody that's helping you look at the comps? Is there somebody that's helping you actually convey that to your buyer so they can get on the same page with the offer? And then past the comparable sales, you're gonna, let's say it gets accepted and you're in the deal. And then now you have this big, long inspection report. Who's gonna help you actually look at that inspection report and break it down into the simple and help you actually get on the phone with your buyer and decide what's important to actually ask for from the seller? Because when you're new, you don't know what you don't know, and then it gets really confusing. So
yeah, and do they know what they're talking about? Because real estate's a moving, changing industry. It changes seasonally, it changes annually. If you've been in the business for 20 years and you haven't updated your training, like, what are you teaching people? So if you're not up to date with your stuff as a leader, you're probably not training your people to the best of their ability either. So like that whole thing was really important to us.
Well, and anybody can go on YouTube and actually learn a ton about real estate. They can learn so much, but like once you get into a deal and you have a very specific objection and you're trying to get past something and you're trying to figure out what to actually ask the listing agent or what to say, is there somebody that can assess that situation and actually help you? And on most teams, there might be somebody, but are they available in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Are they available today? I mean, in a traditional brokerage model, that person might not be available until maybe the next day. And how closely are they gonna look at it? And how much effort are they gonna put into the whole thing? So I know on this team, we're going back and forth. Like, we may talk about one scenario for an hour just to figure out and break down what the next steps are for the new agent to actually go and execute. And sometimes if we feel like the new agent can't do it, just because they're overwhelmed or scared, we're gonna get involved and we're gonna do it for them.
Yeah, we do a lot of things side by side with the newer people as we're training, or in difficult scenarios, even for some of our seasoned agents, because there's times when you could get in a situation even 3-4 years down the road, you didn't know what to do because it's never happened again. There's times you and I have done this for over 20 years. We get in scenarios we've never seen before, but because of 20 years, we kind of know how to approach things in a different way than somebody who's only 3 years in. So we definitely have a hands-on approach. And then also knowing, like, who do you go to? Like, if they call you and they can't reach you, they know they can reach me. And then Tom, and like, we have a whole scenario where it's like, there's always someone available no matter what. There's going to be somebody that will always jump in and help.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a place to go, that's the biggest thing. That's the best question to ask is, if I get stuck and I need help right now, what does that look like?
Yeah, who's the leader? Who do we go to and in what order?
Yeah.
And how available are they? And how knowledgeable are they? And how up to date in their training are they?
Yeah, you made a good point. There's people who have been in the business. We've trained some agents that have gone on, and they're at the point where they're selling 30 houses a year, which is pretty good. And they still have questions, and they still need help working through scenarios. It never ends. And so the thing is you could think you're a new agent and you've been able to kind of get to that next level where you think you're successful. But like when you get stuck, where do you go and who is that person?
And who's getting in the trenches with you when you make a mistake? That's the other thing.
Oof.
With leadership, you're in charge, which means that when somebody makes a mistake on your team, you get to go in and help them figure out what's going wrong and how to get them out, which is time consuming. And the real issue in this business is nobody wants to waste their time. They call it wasting their time. But for us, we see that as a training moment and building somebody up into a bigger position. So it's just how do they see those things? Where do you go when you actually need somebody to pull you up?
All right, so we're talking about agents and teams and people that want to join teams. And one of the biggest missing components, and this missing component exists on certain teams, but sometimes not others, and it's the leverage part of it. It is the person that is going to help you do the transaction. Some people call it a transaction coordinator, but I would argue that a lot of people have transaction coordinators that simply just kind of run their calendar. They don't necessarily, maybe they fill out some addendums, but there's no strategy involved.
Or they just tell you when you need to do it. So there's a difference between somebody saying, hey, you need to do that, hey, you need to do that, hey, you need to do that, like a reminder, versus somebody that actually dives into the paperwork, is licensed, and can get their hands dirty on the stuff and then say, hey, I did that. Hey,
Yeah.
I did that. Those are two completely different jobs.
Yeah, like how wonderful would it be where if you're an agent and this person is just doing your deal for you with all the mundane, with all the logistics, with all the scheduling, with all the paperwork, and then you're just there to make sure that you're the one talking with the buyer or the seller to make sure that they understand what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it's a third of your business. Let's be real. Like it is a third of your business that's being consumed by the contract itself. So if you have somebody excellent doing that part of the business, A, you're going to have less mistakes than you would for yourself because we're always on the run. And then B, you're going to have a third more of your time back to sell more houses. So, for us, it's a no-brainer to put the right people in the right places so that that stuff's done for us seamlessly.
Yeah, so if you're going somewhere, ask them what the transaction coordination support really looks like. Is this person a partner of yours that's really working the deal? They're being proactive. They're sending out messages on your behalf before things happen and while they're happening? Or is this simply a person that's just meant to keep you on task and on timeline? Because they're completely different worlds. One is like having a personal assistant doing things for you, and the other is kind of like this person that's bugging you to go do the things that this other person is doing that now you need to do, and then you just have a job at that point.
There's lots of ways that this works for us. We've actually got it broken down into systems within the system. So you have to have a pretty big team to get it to that level where you've got somebody doing like the little task and then somebody else doing one side of the transaction, which is the listing side, and then somebody else doing the other side. Mm-hmm. It just takes a while to get to that size. So as you're searching for different fits, different teams, ask in-depth questions about how they run their transactions.
Yeah, specific examples of this would be, you get an inspection report back. Is somebody actually talking to you about how, if you're new, what exactly the things are that you're going to ask and making sure that they're worded properly so there's no confusion? Or if the appraisal comes back and it's low, is that person actually helping you do the appraisal reconsideration and actually helping you pull comparable sales? There's so many examples of like rock star administrative support versus just somebody who's just kind of there and reminding you of what you need to do.
Yeah, and it's all leverage. So if you spend 5 hours figuring that out, that's 5 hours that you didn't get to spend showing homes or selling homes or doing anything that makes you money. You're just dealing with the same transaction that you've already created.
Yeah.
So that's why we call it leverage. It leverages your time into a better position financially.
Yeah, what it allows you to do is go focus on the people who need more help. You could work with more families. as opposed to just managing this deal that you already have. And so it is literally the difference between you being able to sell or you being able to sell 2 or 3x or 4x as many homes, because like you said, it just frees up that time. Another example is just, what does the system look like that's built out? Is it reminding people, like a good example is, we're going to close on a house, I'm representing the buyer. Is there email reminders going out to the listing agent about things that are included or not included in the sale? Is there email reminders going out to your buyer that's now super happy that you gave keys to, that they should actually fill out an online review for you?
Yeah.
You know?
And those systems are not easy to manage, and they're not easy to set up. So it's not something that every team will have the same thing. It's very complicated on the backside. So knowing that your team has a really, really great follow-up system that they're managing is a huge leverage tool for everybody involved, for the people that are doing that job specifically, and for the agent, because it makes you look amazing when something's going out on your behalf over and over and over consistently. It makes you look like you're just doing everything perfectly.
Yeah, you literally could just do the very bare minimum in communications and still earn a 5-star review. That's how great it is. I'd like to talk about, there's a lot of teams that are set up and they have an overseas component, right? Like they dialed in overseas communications, so the transaction coordinators or what have you are all built out and they're overseas. But this in person, like I think an element of locality is great, because you will need help that somebody who is living overseas cannot do. So there's going to be missing components always. If you're interviewing for a team and they do not have somebody that is local or multiple people that are local, this is a strong consideration.
Yeah, they're great. Typically, it's a great setup. As I agree with you, as long as there's somebody here managing it as well. So to me, a combination of the two is not a negative. It's a perfectly good system. But yeah, it's interesting how now the business is so common that way. I know a lot of teams that fully run completely offsite.
I'll give you an example. Okay, I'm closing on a house next week. All right, the lender needs a picture of the propane tank because they need to know how much gas is left in the propane tank, right? Mm-hmm. This house is 45 minutes away from where I live, and without me even knowing, our people went and took care of that picture, went out, drove, because they're local, they're not overseas. Somebody overseas could not do this for you. Went out and took the picture of the propane tank, sent it to the lender. It's all handled. I barely even knew about it. The only reason I knew about it because she mentioned it, and that's all handled for me. That just saved me an hour and a half at least, just in physical time alone. And if I had to plan to go do it, as well as go do it, then there's more time involved.
So of course we all know we're talking about leads. This is what everybody is looking for whenever they're switching or coming into a new office. They're like, okay, and how do we get leads? What do we do about leads? What do we know about leads?
Well, and the thing with leads is there's different levels of leads, right? There's like I can grab the phone book. I mean, I don't know if they still exist, but I think
you can't.
So if I had a phone book over here, I would grab it, and there would be certain traditional real estate offices that might tell me to call people out of that phone book, and that's the equivalent of the lead quality that some are providing. So they may talk to you about how to generate your own, but do they actually give you anything that's so far down the pipeline that this person actually wants to go look at a house and it's an appointment?
Right.
Or are they this person that just inquired on a home that is not even approved yet, not even really looking, it's just a name?
Yeah, so they range from let's call it 1 to 100. So you want to get into, obviously the higher level leads. That's where everybody would want to be. Mm-hmm. So then the question is, what does the lead flow look like? What type of leads are they? How good a quality are they? And then how are they distributed? Because you may be the new person on the team. How does that work? Do I just jump in tomorrow and get the hundreds? Probably not. So there's usually some sort of system, some sort of setup where, or at least in a perfect world, it would be we're going to train you and teach you how to manage the lead so that nothing gets slipped through the cracks. You're going to get managed, trained, and evolving into the better quality leads? And how can I get on that fast track? Like, what do I need to do first, second, third, fourth so that I can get into the 100 level leads?
Yeah, be specific. Tell me specifically where they're coming from, because I can tell you a lead from Facebook versus a lead from Zillow are going to be completely different level of, and it's not that leads are bad or good. It's just, are they ready to buy now? Or are they just like, did they just submit something online? And did they even know they submitted something online? Because when you go call that person, like they're either ready to look at a house, maybe, or somewhere in between where they just started the process. And so if you're getting a whole bunch of leads that where the cycle time on it, that the time where they're going to actually like inquire versus actually make a contract, if that's really, really high and that's the only thing you're getting, now you're going into it that you're going to have a ton of follow-up to do. You're going to have to nurture the leads like crazy. And you're not going to be closing any deals on those leads for quite some time, which affects your income. And so it's just it's a way of assessing the opportunity when you're going to an office as to what is the actual type of lead. Because if you can give me something where you can train me and the people want to go meet, and now I know what to do, I can actually close a house. I can help somebody buy, and I can have potentially income coming in right away.
So the biggest problem our team actually has right now is we have so many leads that we literally, some weeks, we're losing like 3 sales. We don't have enough people to handle the high quality leads that we actually pay for. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, in the last 30 days, we had 29 unanswered calls of people that were trying to create an appointment to actually go look at a property. So when we look at conversion and we know what the numbers look like for that, out of that 29, there's at least 3 people there that should have actually got a contract accepted, not just went and looked again or anything like that. So there was a lot of viable people out of that 29 that did not end up actually getting any help at all.
Yeah, so if you're a realtor in the area and you're thinking about making a change, consider checking us out. We have plenty of space on our team and would love to help you learn how to follow up with these people.
Yeah, so point being, you want to ask a lot of questions. If you have a team leader out there that's promising you leads, you want to know where they're coming from, what they look like. It may seem weird, but I do think you should pry a little bit on that. Don't overly pry, because they're just going to think that you're only joining them for the leads, which is kind of a bad sign, because at the end of the day, we could give anybody leads. They still have to call them, they still have to do the work, they still have to close the deal. And a lead is just a lead, but what we'd argue is the quality is drastically different. So if you're assessing brokerages, teams, just know when you're going into that appointment to talk to people, talk about those 3 L's. What does the leadership look like? What does the training look like? It's part of the leadership. What does the leverage look like? What kind of support am I going to get here? Like, who's going to actually help me on a daily basis, potentially, or on an hourly or minutely basis if I have an issue? And then what does the lead opportunity look like? So deciding where you're going to go is not easy. Hopefully you found this helpful. Be sure to check out the rest of our channel. We have a lot of tips on conversion and just general information about what it's like to be a realtor out there.